What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, RizGod, Riz God, baby, back for the 18th episode of the RizPod, the one and only best podcast in the game. Today, we're bringing some NFL back into the RizPod. It's been a while. We haven't talked about it since the Super Bowl. And today is another Riz God first. It's kind of cringe, but I really like the bit. We're calling it the Riz God Megapod RizPod. I know it's a long thing, but the reason for that is we got 6 people talking 6 different NFL teams, and we're going to predict who's winning the Super Bowl or who's kind of just going to kill the game this season. Everybody's got their own team. I got 6 different fan bases and a whole lot to talk about. So let's introduce these guests, and let's start off with the man that is representing JETS. My man, first-time guest, JAY. Jay, what's going on?
What's up, sir? How you guys doing? Happy to be here.
Good. I'm doing well. Glad to have you back, or glad to have you on, rather, Jay.
Dude, I'm so happy to be here. Senior football analyst and Johnny's preschool friend. Happy to be here.
Speaking of Johnny, why not we bring him on since he's the next guest? Adding first-time guest onto the podcast, representing the Jacksonville Jaguars, Johnny Stockton. Johnny, how are we doing?
We're doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Number one Jacksonville Jaguars super fan here. Infamous cash out better. Biggest reason, want to just put this out in the front. I'm a massive Jets fan, but before the season last year, I made a huge prediction that the Jags would win the bowl, win the AFC, make the playoffs. I took massive bets on all of them. They had the worst odds in the NFL. They ended up actually making it, and I think I became the biggest Jacksonville Jaguars super fan on the market. Could be wrong, could be right. Happy to be here nonetheless and support my 17-0 Jacksonville Jaguars.
And that I can't wait to hear your takes on it. T-Law and Johnny Stockton, the duo of the century. But kind of segueing into the duo of the century is a duo guest that we have representing the Chargers and the Detroit Lions. We have Gabby and Jordan. What's going on,
What's
Gabby?
up? How's it going?
It's going good. Jordan, what's going on?
All right, what's going on? Keep it moving, But excited to be here, see what we can hear from these takes.
I'm glad to have both of you guys on. And representing the tragic Buffalo Bills of upstate New York, recurring guest from episode 16 is Mr. Mark Allman. Mark, how we doing?
Yeah, the Super Bowl of guests is here, just like the football team that's going to win the Super Bowl is here. So,
well, with that being said, we got 6 different franchises, 6 different teams. Not all of us can unfortunately win the Super Bowl, especially when we have a Chargers fan that had to go through what they went through last year with the Jaguars being here. Honestly, before we really get into it, Gabby, I just want to kind of know your thoughts. Obviously, you've told us, but how did it feel seeing the collapse of the Chargers, knowing that one of your good friends, Johnny, is a Jaguars fan now?
I remember the group chat that night and how tense it was. But I honestly expected nothing less. So, disappointed.
Johnny, how was it as a first-year fan to experience something like that?
Yeah, so as the number one Jacksonville Jaguars super fan, it was absolutely the best night of my life. I was actually out to dinner with my girlfriend and my parents at halftime. And I just looked at my phone. I saw they were down 28-0. Have not watched a second of the game. And I was like, they're going to come back. And I threw so much money on them to come back. And then I cashed out right at the end of the game. But it was all to the faith of the Jacksonville Jags. Even better than that, not only did they beat the Chargers, but Gabby gifted me this shirt and the hat. So that's the only reason why I have any Jags apparel at all, period. It was a great night. It was riveting football for sure.
And that's when the Jacksonville Jaguars legacy was cemented that night. So obviously, we got a lot to go through, 17 games for each of us. We're going to kind of start off with Jay. Jay, obviously, you're representing JETS. A lot of expectations coming for the Jets this season with Aaron Rodgers and a whole bunch of additions. Would love to hear your thoughts. We're going to kind of start off. I'm going to bring up the Jets' schedule here, and we're going to kind of go one by one and get your takes on what their schedule is going to look like. So whenever you're ready, King, take it away with week 1 and then go from there. Give your little spiels.
So I'll be honest, I'm not the stereotypical Jets fan. I actually think we're going to be average. You have to keep your expectations low every single time. Because if you think they're going to win a bunch of games, they're going to get smacked. And it happens every single year. So my prediction's going to be pretty maybe 8, 9, 10 wins, maybe. That's probably all we're going to do this year, to be honest. And I'll explain each game why. First game against the Bills. We're not ready to go beat the Bills on Monday Night Football. We're not even close to ready to winning that game. We still have a terrible offensive line. L. The Pats. Yeah, we're going to get smacked by Belichick. Not even a question. We're still trying to figure out this offense, and there's still a lot of things we need to figure out. But, hey, week 3 Broncos, Russell Wilson still sucks, so we're going to win that game. So we're 1-2 at this point.
Jay, not to interrupt you, you might be reading the chart wrong.
Oh, I am? What do you mean? Oh, I am reading the chart wrong. That's
Yeah,
totally
you
fine.
gotta go.
We're going backwards. That's
No,
totally
listen,
okay,
listen. It doesn't matter.
Hey,
You're
going.
killing the game right now.
I'm doing it. It's fine. It's fine.
All right,
Fair enough,
they
fair
lose to the Bills and they lose
Yeah.
to the Patriots. What are they doing against the Cowboys and the Chiefs?
All right. They will beat the Cowboys because everybody beats the Cowboys because they're always a disappointment every year. The Chiefs, we're going to get smacked. Patrick Mahomes, come on. The Eagles, we're also going to get smacked. There's just no way we're going to beat them either. So at this point, we're 2-4. We're going into the bye week, and they need to trade or sign some offensive linemen, which they will. They'll fix the offensive line. They'll figure out their shit. Go play the Giants at home, if it's a home game, basically. They're going to smack the Giants because it's a big game for them. They need it. Go play the Chargers next week. I'm really sorry to say they will beat the Chargers because they're cursed and they're always going to lose. Then they go play the Raiders and they win. They're going to go on this win streak. It's going to happen. Then they go beat the Bills again. Well, they finally go beat the Bills the first time this season. And now they're on a win streak. But they can't beat the Dolphins on November 24th. That's when they lose. Yeah.
Currently
Yeah.
6-5 right now. Not doing too
Yeah.
bad.
Not doing too bad. Then we're going to beat the Falcons. Because why not? We're going to beat the Texans because I'm trying to think, who's even on their team? They're a rebuilding team. They have, we're going to beat them. We're going to lose the Dolphins again. I think the Dolphins are actually really sneaky this year. And we're going to beat Washington. And then we're going to lose to the Browns and lose to the Patriots. So what does that get us at?
I believe, if I'm correct, it's 9-8.
Exactly. About 9-8.
Wow.
A lot of interesting takes on that schedule.
The whole point,
Yeah,
the
for
whole
sure.
point, the whole point is this. At the end of the day, it's like if you put too much faith in the New York Jets, you're already losing.
I mean, that's pretty fair. I guess
I've been a Jets fan my whole life, and whenever I've been super excited to watch them, or I think they're gonna win some games, they always disappoint. So I'm keeping my expectations level.
That 2-game stretch, I think it was, with Atlanta and then Houston, you had them winning both. They're almost certain. Those are must-win games. Those in December, they're almost certainly losing 1 or 2 of those.
No way. They're gonna win at least
Well,
one.
yeah, Houston.
That's the Jets love. That's the Jets that can't lose.
Yeah.
That can't do anything.
No, you're right too. Houston doesn't have that draft pick either, so they'll try to win. It don't matter to them.
Yeah, I think one thing that a lot of people with Aaron Rodgers, obviously the Jets defense, and then them getting Dalvin Cook. A lot of people think it's Super Bowl or bust. And just to hear your kind of opposite take of them being 9-8, obviously I'm from New York as well. It's there's a lot of hype for the Jets. So just hearing your 9-8 takes are very interesting. I honestly give them 11, 12 wins. To be honest, I think they kind of have a easy schedule if you ask me.
Mhm.
But
I mean, that beginning schedule is brutal.
yeah. But kind of like Mark was saying, I feel like knowing the Jets, they're going to lose some easy games. But yeah, I mean, Mark, what's kind of your take? Do you agree? Do you feel like they're a lot better than Jay's giving them credit for, a lot worse? What's your quick takes?
I think in terms of the division, he's probably about right. I think you probably split Miami rather than sweep, but otherwise, I mean, yeah, I think the NFC East really kind of splits across the board for the most part. So that's 6 wins.
Yeah.
And then you get a couple extra, so that sounds about right to me.
Gabby, Jordan, any hot takes on Jay's hot takes?
No, I mean, you watched those division games last year. So, did the Jets look dangerous against you last year? Because I mean, it's hard to judge a team with no quarterback at all.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
And
my
they-
biggest
Go ahead,
take
John.
on it. My biggest take on it is that they're a completely different team. they took some of what I believe is like the best parts of like old Green Bay and kind of moved them over to New York. And now Rodgers, not like the best, obviously, but like Rodgers has Garrett Wilson now. He's kind of like a pseudo Devontae Adams. I do believe that he's not going to put up the numbers that Devontae Adams was putting up, but I do believe he's going to be extremely dangerous.
I disagree. I think Wilson's going to be fucking nuts.
I think he's Stephon Diggs.
too,
Like
yeah.
he's a route runner like Stephon Diggs, elite athlete.
He's going to be insane. It's going to be like 1,500 yards easy.
And I do believe that, and that's kind of where I think the Green Bay Packers were so good. And I not only do I think that Aaron Rodgers still has it in him, I think that he's playing on a team that has a better defense. I think that the Jets have a stronger defense than Green Bay does. I do believe that they're going to be able to put up against some of these teams that you're saying they don't have a chance against. I think a lot of these bigger name games, like the Bills, that you said they were going to lose to the Patriots week 3. I do not agree with that at all. There were a few other games you were talking about that I think are going to be a lot more competitive, mostly because of the defense that the Jets have, which is kind of what kept them a little bit in the conversation last year. But now they have this offense that everyone has been itching for the last 6 or 7 years. We haven't had a quarterback or an offense or anything that looked interesting in a decade. We have Breece Hall, who has really yet to show himself. Garrett Wilson, who I think is going to be a top 5 receiver. And yeah, Rodgers is old, but he is so reliable. And even last year when he was throwing to dog shit, he was still making things happen. Like, he has some weapons here. I obviously know why you're underselling the Jets. I'm also a Jets fan, and every year I don't even watch the Jets until they're on the little graphic that ESPN shows where they have a chance to make the playoffs. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll start watching their games now. And this year will be different, and that's just because I'm a disappointed Jets fan. But I do believe that there's a lot more upside to look at than what you were highlighting.
No, and I totally understand that. It's just like you get it, Johnny. Like, we've been Jets fans our whole life. Like, how am I supposed to be like, you know what? They're gonna go to the Super Bowl. They're gonna win 12 games. They're gonna go far in the playoffs. Like, no, I'm expecting disappointment, and I have to keep it that way until.
And you want to know where the disappointment will come in? I agree with Mark. Is where they're gonna lose to the Texans or whoever the worst team is at the time. They might have a great record, and they're gonna lose to the team that has 2 wins to their name in a double-digit week. Like, they will guaranteed lose one of those games. I still think they'll win some other ones that we're not expecting them to win, but I'd give them 12 or 13 wins.
I think it can be like the same thing with the Vikings last year. Like, the Vikings are not as good as a lot of these teams are, but every year there's that team that's like fringe worthy. Like, their schedule works out where they can win those like 3-point games, like somehow. So if the Jets can do that and beat like the Chiefs on the road or something like that, and then you start rolling. But
I think that's where the Rodgers comes in is those like 3-point games. Rodgers is going to keep you in those. He doesn't turn the ball over fucking ever.
Except for when he plays Detroit.
Well, that's the thing too, is I think like for Aaron, like it's almost like a fresh start. So I think he's gonna come out with guns blazing, and I think he's gonna fucking play out of his mind this year. So I think
this is crazy to say since he's in his like late 30s, but this is almost like his second rookie year. Like, he's got like a
That's
new.
how I feel, yeah.
He has I think he's really determined.
Do you think, real quick, because I feel like Riz is about to keep us moving, do you think Rodgers has a better year this year, his first year in New York, than Brady did his first year in Tampa?
No.
Yeah.
I feel like the only way that works.
I know like Super Bowl, obviously, but like personally.
Not the Super Bowl, but
I feel like his talent is better than what
when he had
Brady had.
Devontae, he won the MVP back-to-back. So
Right.
if this guy is that guy, then he could throw 40 touchdowns and like 3 picks, but only win 10 games. He'll do that.
Right, for sure.
And what I wanted to say is just like a lot of people like the Jets won 7 games last year just based on their defense. Like, who do they have? Zach Wilson. I don't even remember who the hell they had at quarterback. Now you have Aaron Rodgers with all these weapons. Like, I got to give them like 11, 12 wins personally.
Hey, man, I hope. I really hope so. That'd be sick.
You got to win games in that division, though. We'll see.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, that's a scary division this year.
And speaking of scary division, what better way to segue to another Week 1 matchup between the Jets is Mr. Buffalo Bills himself, Mark. Mark, you got a lot to talk about because obviously the Bills year in and year out are the Super Bowl favorites to win the Super Bowl, and somehow they just don't win the Super Bowl. So I'm going to kind of let you take it over. You kind of give your little spiel on the Bills this year while I pull up their chart.
Yeah, look, you make the Super Bowl or bust thing seem like a negative. I grew up for like 18 straight years of just miserable fucking football. just absolutely the worst fucking dog shit you've ever seen in your life on a football field for like 17 straight years. So I am all about just like winning division titles after division title. I'm more than happy. Josh Allen can have my babies. I'm thriving.
All right, well, Team Josh Allen. So kind of just taking it over, very similar to Jay. Start off with week one, give your little spiels on each game, and then let's see where they're at after 18 weeks.
Yeah, okay. I haven't done this before, so I'm interested to see where this will land. Week one, I don't understand anybody picking against the Bills. They opened the season last year in LA against the defending Super Bowl champions and fucking wiped the floor with them. Like it wasn't even a contest until, I mean, it was for a little bit, but it was not a game. I think they roll. I think Rodgers looks like he's 45 for a week. I think he looks real bad before it looks real good for the Jets. And then week two, home opener in September. I'm telling you, in Buffalo, it is like a fucking holiday. We do not lose home openers. End of story. And against the Raiders, like, I'm not even entertaining that. Week three at Washington. Allen's already beat them, I think, like 2 years ago. That'll be a win. Home against Miami. That's a win. We fucking hate the Dolphins. Squish.
Be careful with this next one.
Versus Jacksonville in London. This is a super, super interesting game. I trust McDermott to be more to have his team more ready to play than I do the Jaguars. So I'll take a win there. Home Sunday night again. Sunday night football in Buffalo for the first time in 15 years, maybe since that Cowboys game. Like nobody, fucking God himself can walk into that football field and nobody's winning that football game but the Buffalo Bills. The next Sunday we're at New England. I'll take the win there still.
So you're 7-0 right now through 7 weeks.
Dude, like I'm not kidding. Like this team lost 3 games last year by a combined 10 points. Like they were not like to be fucked with.
I mean, going to Miami in early October might be a problem. It's still going to be 100 degrees.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely there. But we got that game really pissed them off last year when it was like 106 and like everybody was going down. Like they're going to be fucking ready to go into a street fight instead of a football game for that.
Yeah, but they definitely could win all those games. He is right. Very easy.
Yeah, I agree too. I think those first 7 look pretty good.
Yeah, it's definitely the back half is where it gets really fucking rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like murderer's row of football teams. It's pretty
boom, 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 boom.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills are holding the 1 seed for the first half of the season and then completely lose it by the time it hits like week 15.
Agreed. Yeah, no, I fully on board. I think that's probably where we're going here. So that takes us to Thursday night football, home Tampa Bay. I'm not taking them to lose home primetime games. I'm just not doing it. The crowds are electric and Allen is fucking money in primetime. Week 9 at Cincinnati, definitely taking an L there. They would have mopped the floor with us if DeMar Hamlin didn't have that injury that week. They were it was cruise control for them that game. I knew going into the playoffs for the same reason they're going to crush us then, and they did. I don't know what it is. I don't think they're like much better of a team than Buffalo top to bottom, but they just own us. Then we have Monday night football home Denver. I mean, I'm not entertaining Russell Wilson at this point, so that's a win. Sunday home the Jets. I feel like at this point is where the Jets are kind of in their hot streak here. I think I'll take a loss here. This is mid-November. It's going to be a little bit colder. It's going to be like Rodgers. You'll see his breath start to go in the air, and he'll have his little fucking hand warmer here, and he'll like throw a late touchdown with probably like 35 seconds left to win the game and send us home miserable. Well, not me. I'll be home watching. I'm too poor to go to the games, but cool. So that takes us to another loss at Philadelphia. We'll just move right along there. We get a bye week, rest up at Kansas City. I'm taking a win here because we always beat Kansas City in the regular season. We just can't ever beat them when it actually matters. So this is just a typical Bills win that means nothing. And then we're home Dallas. What do we got? Yeah, I will take a loss here. I think we're like undefeated at home. I don't think that stays that way. I'll take a loss here, and I think we're going to lose the long trip to LA for a Saturday game. Kind of throws off the schedule. Yeah, I mean, you can have your win now. You'll never get them when it in like January, February. Now we're wrapping up with 2 division games, one on the road, one at home. I just split them. I'll take a win and a loss.
Wow, so you kind of with the Bills being 12-5, which is kind of crazy given that you started them at 8-0, I think. So just kind of everyone's takes.
I think that's being modest. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they probably win some of those crucial games because they tend to do that. But I'm with Jay, and like I'm scared to get broken in my dating life and in football life. So I tend to be more conservative.
I mean, if you go 500 on that back end right there, you could be the 1 seed because you beat Miami, Kansas City, LA. Like,
right.
If you're 500 there, you're taking that. You're 12-5. You could be the 1 or 2 seed.
I feel like 5 losses is too much for the 1 seed, but
I mean, if you beat Kansas City at their place,
right? Yeah.
What is that's worth half a game too, isn't it? Like you get like a game and a half for that shit, I think.
Yeah, I just think there's so many teams in the league, and there's so many teams with like Mickey Mouse schedules, like the Chiefs or the Bengals, or someone's going to end up like 14-3. 12-5. I don't know how. I mean, obviously you're being modest, but I feel like for the Bills to start off 7-0 and finish 5-5 to end the season probably doesn't give both. It'll
be interesting, like what Jay said with the Jets at like that October 31st trade deadline. It's not been like a super big day for Bean traditionally in the front office. But he is, I mean, as we all know, it's well reported that he checks in on every player that's available. So it'll be really interesting. I think that'll be a good tell to see what that back half of the schedule looks like, to see kind of what their mentality is. Because if they're like 6-0 at that point, Bean's going to be on the phones like fucking bringing in Bart Starr or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and I do think they're going to start the season hot, and I think that is going to contribute to. I think this is going to be one of the biggest trade deadline days for the Bills, or trade deadline years for the Bills ever. Because if they start as undefeated as they're going to be, they're going to want to shoot for the stars. Now, my take with the Bills is that I think they're regressing. I feel like they're getting slightly worse. I feel like I'm watching Josh Allen not be able to kick up the Jets as much as he was able to in those first few years when the Bills looked like Super Bowl contenders. I don't know. I was considering my Super Bowl picks, which I know we're going to get to at the end of this call. I don't know if the Bills were even in my head because I don't think Josh Allen has what he needs to have in terms of the people he could work with to be able to pull it off the way that he had opportunities to in the past. I'm curious what your take is on that, specifically on the offense, because I'm like, it was a take I had last year. I just think they're like getting a little worse. Like they'll make the playoffs and they'll be probably the best team in the AFC East. But the question is like, are they going to be Super Bowl contenders for real?
I think it definitely, I was talking to my friend actually literally last night about it. I was talking myself into the Bills trading for Jonathan Taylor specifically because they need another fucking superstar with Stephon Diggs. I don't care who it is. Like, I do not give a shit what position you play. Like, he needs like Diggs needs something else. Like, and I think that's why they drafted Kincaid. I bet the Bills to draft tight end first round. Like, I was really set on that. I think Kincaid's going to be an absolute monster this year. So I think with Kincaid, hopefully break out and then a trade deadline move. I think they definitely know the defense is all there. It's the same guys. They added Leonard Floyd on the edge. Vaughn will come back in week 5. Milano's still there. You still have Trey in the second. Like, it's a loaded defense still. So it'll be interesting for sure.
Do they have? I don't think they have money for this trade.
They have 13 million cap space right now.
13.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one player. Like you're talking, maybe.
I mean, yeah, the cap's fake though. I'm not really worried about that.
It isn't because they treat it like it is not like it. They go by the book there. A lot of it, like because they treat their draft picks and they don't trade them away really either.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, that is true, but I think
it's a traditional program. That's why they're a good team year in and out.
Yeah, it's also I think an interesting year for the coaching staff, because this is going on like year 6 or 7 or 8 here for McDermott and Buffalo, and like the closest they got was that 13 seconds game, and like they haven't really gotten close since. And it doesn't feel like they were really, despite being so good in the regular season last year, it did not feel like they were anywhere close to being like a legitimate Super Bowl contender once the playoffs rolled around. They barely beat Skylar Thompson. Like it just seems like they're lacking something. And that's why I was like, if it's Jonathan Taylor, I don't give a shit what it is. I trust the front office to make the right move. Just give me a superstar, brother.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think my one gripe with the Bills and why I don't really think they have, like, you look at, like, the Bengals, right? Like, they got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. You look at the Dolphins, they got Jalen Waddle, they got Tyreek Hill. I just feel like the Bills don't have that.
Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett.
Right. They just don't have that. It's just Stephon Diggs and, like, Dawson Knox. Like, Gabe Davis had that one big game against Kansas City, and then he's been ghost ever since. So – I mean,
if he was healthy, he missed like 2 or 3 games. He would have been a 1,000-yard receiver, but it doesn't ever feel like he's breaking the game by any means. Like, he has a couple big third down catches, and it's like, oh God, thank goodness he's on the team. But like, he's not like taking over games.
Doesn't have the longest reception in Buffalo Bills history.
Him and T.O. are tied.
In 98.
Last year
him and T.O. are tied.
Yeah.
T.O. had one in 2009 against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I think Gabe Davis. I mean, I have a gripe with him because he had that big Kansas City game, and then I drafted him in fantasy last year. I think he was going to be fucking good, and he was fucking dog shit besides that one game where he had that 100-yard touchdown catch. But, I mean, personally for me, I think the Bills obviously are a contender. I just don't see them going that far. Sorry, Mark. But, Jay, kind of what's your
Giants fan, brother? Don't apologize to me.
No, I was thinking about Mark was saying. I could see them trading for JT. If they go 6-0, I don't see why they wouldn't want to make a move. This is probably the last year that they can like really contend.
The AFC is crazy good, dude. The window is closed.
Exactly.
To be honest, I will be completely honest. The Bills, I think the window's closed for this kind of core, like this Hyde, Poyer, Trey, McDermott. I think we passed. I think 13 seconds was genuinely, that was the year, man. Like that was it. They would have fucking cock stomped the Rams in that Super Bowl, dude. It just didn't pan out. And I think it's probably like the AFC is just too good.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams we're not even going to talk about, like the Bengals. The Ravens are probably going to be really good this year too. The Jaguars are probably going to be really
looks
good.
Like the fucking MVP. Like,
yeah. So, kind of wrapping up that, Gabby, Jordan, any final thoughts on Mark's Buffalo Bills before we hop over to you guys?
I like the Bills. I always have, so I'm always hopeful for them. But I kind of agree with Mark. I don't really think that – I mean, I think they'll probably hold the number 1 seed for a while this year. But their second half schedule is pretty tough.
I mean, I think what it came down to last year is the DeMar Hamlin thing, the way that went down, and the way they were getting absolutely curb stomped by Cincinnati at the same time. But at the end of the year, Poyer was hurt, and the other safety, I always forget his name.
He was out all year.
Yeah, so not having anything in the back end, they're a completely different team. They cannot play with the Chiefs. They cannot play with the Bengals because guys like Kelsey get downfield and then Chase, and they play both those teams, and they're going to have to play them again. So it'll come down to if they can cover them up in the back end.
Yeah, awesome. And I think what better way to kind of segue into the back end was the Chargers collapse in the back end of last season. I just always got to put it in there. Gabby, I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Chargers are going to be actually pretty good this season, but not to influence your takes. I'm going to kind of pull up the schedule, but kind of give your initial takes before we go week to week on how you feel like the Chargers are going to do this season.
Yeah, so we have a new offensive coordinator, which is exciting. And I think that it was kind of written in the stars that we weren't going to do anything with Lombardi, so I'm excited to have a new OC. I don't know. Like last season, we still made the playoffs, basically injured. Now we're healthy, hopefully.
For now.
Stay healthy. For now, yeah. If we can stay healthy, then it's a very interesting season for us, I think. But starting week 1, here we go. I think we're going to beat the Dolphins week 1. Tua sucks, and I feel like every single season, like he proves it more and more. And I don't really have too much faith in them without Jalen Waddle. So I'm fine with the win there. Titans, we're actually going to that game. And I think that it's going to be our time to show our run offense against Derrick Henry. But I'm taking an L there. Just because, I don't know. It's like sketchy to bet against Derrick Henry, I guess. I'm taking a win against the Vikings. Division games get tricky, but I think we're going to beat the Raiders the first time we play. I think we're going to beat the Cowboys. I think we're going to split with the Chiefs because last season we almost beat them both times and we were injured again. And then, okay, Bears, we're going to beat the Bears, I hope, and that's at home. So, Jets, I have an L because I think that's when the Jets get hot. Here's another fun one. As much as I would love the Chargers to beat the Lions, I think they're going to lose. I think the Lions are going to be in their
Jordan, stop kicking her.
peak playing football at that point, so I think we'll probably lose. And we tend to like fold in big games. So, and it's not a big game to anyone but me. So, the Packers, I think we win. Like, who's even their quarterback? Jordan Love. Like, I think we'll beat the Packers. The Ravens I had as a loss as well, because if Lamar's healthy, I think there's no way that they don't like absolutely destroy our defense. Patriots, I have a win. I think that we can beat the Patriots, hopefully. Seeing how Mac Jones plays, I don't know. Broncos, it's hard because last year we fucking played the Broncos last game and our only receiver that we had got hurt. But I think we'll probably beat the Broncos there. Raiders, I think we're going to win. It's Thursday Night Football. It's like our biggest like rival game. So
I think you guys are sleeping on the Broncos heavy though. Their defense,
Russell Wilson revenge season. I'm telling y'all.
Broncos country, let's shit.
Let's ride.
Bills L. I don't
Isn't our number one wide receiver kind of injured right now?
Who?
Jerry Jeudy.
Oh, is he injured? I don't know.
I mean, they got a really good young running back, that Williams. They got some guys anyway, Sutton. But their defense is ridiculous. They traded that dude to Miami for a first-round pick, and he was Bradley Chubb.
Oh, yeah.
And he's a legit monster, and their defense was still like
I don't care. Russell Wilson
everybody.
sucks, so I don't trust him, and he's old and probably doesn't want to play anymore. So Bills L, even though that's going to be a very big game for us since it's the end of the season. Broncos, I feel like we're going to split with the Broncos. I don't know. I feel it in my blood. Fucking Brandon Staley doesn't know what he's doing ever, so I think we'll probably split with the Broncos. And then Chiefs, I think we'll probably lose. So, and I did not keep track of our record, but
I did. I believe we had it at 13-4. I think you said.
Yeah, that's not happening.
The Broncos, you split. The Chiefs, you split. The Ravens, you said was a loss, and the Lions. Actually, no. I'm sorry. 12-5 because you had the Jets loss as well.
And the Titans, I think I said Titans lost too.
Oh yeah, Malik Willis legacy game. So 11-6.
I mean, Derrick
I mean,
Henry,
it's doable.
I feel like that's right.
Like we have like an easier schedule. It's just our division that's kind of tricky because of the Chiefs, obviously. But I feel like, I don't know. If we had any other team in our division other than the Chiefs, I feel like we win our division.
I feel like 11-6 is respectable though. Like looking at the schedule, like
I think that's what we finished last year.
I think with Herbert, you are a perennial double-digit win team, second place to Mahomes in the division team, like forever.
And his mega contract that he just signed, I feel like he's going to be playing out of his mind too. Now he has an actual offensive coordinator also, hopefully. And our rookies that we drafted this year are fucking monsters. And It's just a matter if they can play, like, well. But I don't know. I mean, I obviously don't think we're Super Bowl bound or anything, but
I was gonna say, I feel like in the division, like realistically, the Chargers probably should get 3 free wins, like whether they sweep the Raiders or the Broncos and then split with one of them. And then they could possibly even split with the Chiefs. So, and then you look at some other teams, like, I mean, I think they stomped the Titans, but who knows? Like the Vikings is a winnable game. The Bears obviously is a winnable game unless Justin Fields becomes Jesus. And like even the Packers is a winnable game. I think the Lions is a winnable game, but obviously we'll see what Jordan says on that.
No, I mean, they very well could sweep the NFC North without a problem.
Right.
But the Titans are dangerous with Derrick Henry any day, especially early when he's healthy in September.
And against our defense.
That's why the Chargers lost games last year. The Chiefs didn't throw all over us. They couldn't. Pacheco was just nailing 9-yarders, like left and right. We would have him like 2nd and 14 on a sack, and he would hit a 10-yard run. And you're like, golly.
He's fucking awesome, to be honest.
Like, Derwin locked him down all the way, Kelsey all the way to the end of that game, both games. He body slammed him in the one game. That was like viral.
Literally picked him up and slammed his ass.
And then Herbert threw a pick 6, which he never does. That's not even like if you said he threw a pick 6 on the 1-yard line, you'd be like, no way. That didn't. Justin Herbert don't do that. He may not make as many big plays, but he don't take chances.
Yeah. And I know it's like beating a broken drum, but like we played half of our season without Keenan.
And Mike.
We had our backup like receivers. Austin literally played every position, and Austin's fucking ass. I'm sorry. Like, it's a conversation for another day. But and then who else was out?
But I'm like
Joey Bosa was out. Like,
no, we didn't have Slater
Slater, yeah.
When you have
Corey Lindsey. Like, we just had a lot of injuries.
You don't have Corey Lindsey and Slater most of the year. You're not the same football team because they're both like top 3 in their position in the league.
Yeah.
So that's tough if you don't have them playing any team.
But now they're all back, so let's hope.
I think with it really comes down to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams' health ultimately. Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, I think Quentin Johnson they drafted, but I think I would be conservative with expectations considering they just came off a national championship, goes right into the draft stuff, combine, all that. So it goes right into his first NFL training camp. Like, I think he's probably not going to be as great as a first round pick would have the expectations on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it really comes down to 3 people: Derwin, Allen, and Williams. I think Herbert will always be great. I think at this point he's proven, like, not a question. Like, he will throw 300 yards a game, 2 touchdowns a game every single game.
And if Austin wants to sabotage us.
If you have Mike or Keenan in the lineup, like, a lot of teams are rumored to be trading for Josh Palmer because last year he was sweet and
he had to play.
Like, Justin relied on him and threw him the ball on 3rd downs consistently throughout the year because he didn't have Mike or Keenan. So if he can play like that and you keep one of them in the lineup, the Chargers can be dangerous. But without it, they can't run the football well enough or stop the run well enough to be a legit playoff football team yet.
And if we go for it on every single 4th down.
That's the same thing like with Buffalo. If Buffalo can't get after the passer, Buffalo's really not going to be winning much big games.
Yeah.
See, I'm actually a lot higher on the Chargers than I feel like everyone on this call is, including Gabby. I think that they have a lot of options. Like, I think it's kind of telling. Obviously, the second half of their season fell apart. They still made the playoffs. I don't really remember where they were in the rankings before the injury compared to after. What was their record after the injury? Do you know?
Whose injury?
Keenan Allen.
Well, he went out like week 2. So.
No, yeah, he was
off
the rip.
Mike got hurt in like the second to last game.
He got hurt like the 4th week and was
but he still played.
Yeah, and then he was out for a while.
He was out for the playoff game.
Yeah,
I feel like even with Keenan Allen not being there, Herbert was still making magic happen. I do think that there are like a plethora of options on that team. Again, Super Bowl bound, not really sure. I do believe that their offense is going to just be able to just slam points on the board, though, every single week with the amount of people that have. I don't know what your beef with Austin Eckler is. I think you should call his agent. But, like, the guy is one of the most talented offensive players in the NFL. I don't know what the mentality is there. I'm not really 100% sure. But he's a great he's all around good. I'm about to start using terminology I don't 100% know. So
Maybe you should tell him to stop talking shit about his quarterback in interviews then.
All right, well, listen. People in the NFL have egos, and some of the best players in the NFL have egos, and I don't think that's going to stop either of them from wanting to win. And whether they have chemistry or not, I mean, they're going to have the chemistry because they've been playing together for a few years now, and Eckler has not stopped, and neither has Herbert. I don't know which games I would necessarily turn compared to the ones that you said. I do believe that they have a pretty solid chance at beating the Chiefs at least one of those 2 times. I feel like they're going to. I feel like the Chiefs are also one of those teams that I think is regressing, kind of like the Bills. So I think people are going to continue to rate them higher and higher, and I don't think they're going to be as elite as people think they're going to be.
Okay, I just want to say this. You guys are going to laugh at me, but the Chargers are a cursed NFL franchise. It doesn't matter how good they are, how they win. Someone's going to get hurt. They're going to miss a field goal. They're going to blow a lead. Something's going to happen. It happens every single year. They can go 17-0, and then they'll go to the playoffs and lose in the first round. So
they do have a kicker whose name rhymes with kicker, and I feel like that's going to help.
No, and that's funny too. I think there's like an actual stat with like
Really?
since the Chargers came into the league, like they have like the closest win-loss margin of all the teams in the NFL, but have like one of the worst records, even though like they've lost games by the least amount.
I have 2 last things on the Chargers. One, the only game I really disagree with is Week 1 against the Dolphins at Miami in the middle of September across the country in about 300-degree weather. I think Tua will be firing on all cylinders for at least 1 week this season.
It's home. It's in LA.
What? Oh, I'm reading this differently.
I did the same thing to you.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Okay, then moving on to my second thing about the Chargers, P.F. Chang's.
What'd you say, P.F. Chang's?
I was just gonna go with the bit with Mark saying they were gonna be in Miami, and I was gonna be like, well, you've never seen Justin Herbert play on mimosas, so he was gonna dominate regardless.
Oh, that's funny.
But honestly, I very similar on the sentiment Johnny said. I'm high on the Chargers this year just because I think they play on a easier-ish kind of division. Obviously, the AFC West is very tough, but I really don't think the Raiders are going to be anything good this year. I think Jimmy G in Vegas is going to just be a setup for disaster, even though he's probably in the exact spot that he wants to be, where he can live, gamble, be with all his porn star girlfriends and whatnot. But again, Broncos country, let's ride. I think they might have a revenge season with Russell Wilson. I just don't see it with the Chargers. And who knows? The Chargers can probably split with the Chiefs, and I think they have a pretty easy schedule with the Titans, the Bears, the Packers, possibly the Lions, and even, the Jets are high praise, but who knows if they're even going to be good at that point.
I'd call the Jets high variance instead of high praise.
Right. Right. Well, kind of just going along, I think for the most part, we're all decently high-ish on the Chargers besides the actual Chargers fan herself, Gabby.
Hey, I lived it, so.
Yeah, no, what better way to kind of segue into a game that the Chargers are going to play against the Lions with the Lions fan himself and Jordan. Jordan, kind of take it away on what your predictions are on the Lions while I get this schedule up for you.
Well, it's tough, like, when you look at our division last year where you get the Vikings, like, winning all those games, and they won them all by 1 possession. And I was looking at our schedule from last year, and, like, every game we lost in that beginning of the season, every single one's by 3 points. Like, we were in every single football game, but we just didn't know how to win. We would fumble the bag one way or the other. And then later in the year, Ben Johnson was, like, making those Panay throws and that crazy block on the Jets and then dump to the tight end for 80 yards to win a football game. Like, Detroit Lions teams do not do that. We'll be up with Stafford 31-7 in the third quarter and lose 48-31. Like, I've seen it happen so many times, dude. We didn't win a game with Kelvin Johnson. Like, we that's how we got that. Like, you draft a quarterback that high and then you lose every single football game. But it's like, we'll see what they can do against those big teams. Like, week 1, we get to see what that defense is completely made out of because we added so much talent in the back end. I think we have It depends, like, if you're going to be biased with yourself. I think we have 4 Pro Bowl safeties, like, on our roster right now because Tracy Walker already was an alternate, and he was awesome, but he tore his Achilles. And then we get Brian Branch from Alabama. And then you already know what Gardner Johnson is. He on a Super Bowl run leading in the back end of a defense because Slay's not that good. I had him for a lot of years. But, all right, so let's run this guy here. Chiefs week 1.
Come out, guns, please.
We can shock the world. We can, but I don't know, man.
Jared Goff legacy game, question mark?
I think we lose that game like 17-14. And everybody's like, whoa, their defense is sweet. What's up with Jared Goff still? Like, that talk won't ever end. But we go to Seattle. We'll beat the dog hell out of Seattle. I don't want to hear none of that Geno. We should have beat them last year. That was, oh, my God. But we'll beat them on the road. Go down to the Falcons with all those new weapons and toys. That could be a shootout right there early, too, with those guys. I don't know. We match up on the back end well with them. And I don't know if that running back's going to be all that because at Texas, he really wasn't a game breaker all the time in any big game they played. Like TCU, they could have went on a run last year. He didn't do nothing. I watched that whole game. I was like, okay, Bijan. He's the next AP, but he really wasn't.
So win or loss, you have to say.
Oh, we're beating the Falcons. I thought that was obvious. It's going to be a shootout, though.
So we got them 2-1 going to week 4.
And I like that because every other year when we get hot, it's always at the end, and it's always like a 7-9. Mm-hmm. And then we got to go on the road and play a Fox game at 4:00 in Dallas. Yeah, Jerry's going to let the Detroit Lions win that game. Green Bay, we owned them last year with Aaron. We'll own them this year. We'll win that game. Carolina, we got to avenge Carolina because Carolina ruined our season last year. Like they ran the ball down our throat with no remorse, start to finish of that game. So that'll be a good test because they're going to try to do the same thing again. And then Tampa, no quarterback. I don't see them being very good. Mike Evans will probably get hurt and then want to get traded. So we'll beat Tampa. The Ravens with Lamar, I think we beat the Ravens because they don't have the weapons they need, especially to match up against the guys that we got. We got like Cam Sutton last year. If you look at the numbers, he was the best corner or like top 3 corner, I think. But you just don't hear about him because that defense has the best safety in pro football. So that's what everybody talks about, and the sweetest edge rusher. So I think we'll beat the Ravens. I don't think we'll have any problem with the Raiders. The Raiders aren't that Jimmy G thing. They're going to run the piss out of the ball, so we'll see if we can stop the run again. That was the problem last year. And then we get the bye. Okay, that's nice. That's in a good spot to go out to L.A.
So 7-1 going against the Chargers. The Lions are on fire.
I mean, like, out of those first games.
And if they go 7-1, Dan Campbell might have a fucking heart attack.
I was thinking the same thing.
And then the season's over.
I'll take 6-2 even. I mean, you might lose the Seattle game too even. But these 4 games, I don't think we have a problem with. Like, we match up well across the board, and none of them have a quarterback, and that's how you win football games. That's how you lose football games. So, yeah, I could see that. It's going to be 6-2 would be sweet. That'd be really sweet. But all we got to do is win our division to get in the playoffs, and that's all we care about. All right, so go out to LA. Yeah, I think we lose that game probably. Justin Herbert looks like the greatest superstar ever. And then the Chicago nonsense. We owned Chicago last year. We match up good with them because we got the edge rushers and the guys in the back end. So if he tries to take off, we can spy him with our new rookie fresh out of the bag from Alabama, and he'll match up really well. Or you have Gardner Johnson spy him. Jack Campbell, he's going to be a problem for teams. I think both of our Iowa guys, high draft picks, everybody hated
I wanted
it.
Jack Campbell so fucking bad.
Dude, he's a missile. And as a Michigan fan, I watched him and I was like, you can't draft Iowa players because we beat the dog piss out of Iowa every year. And I'm like, I watched the Iowa game. I'm like, why are they in the Big Ten? Because Ohio State and Michigan just blows them out. Penn State blows them out. But that tight end, oh my bad. I haven't really ever done this, my bad. So yeah, Bears, Green Bay, easy. Saints. They're so old and they have no money. They're going to be struggling for a while. Saints will beat them.
And Jamal's over there now.
Chicago will come to town and probably beat us on some Justin Fields magic. The Broncos, they'll beat us. Their defense is too good. I think everybody's sleeping on that. They'll win games with their defense. And then we get to go down the stretch to win the division. And Dallas will be a joke by then. They'll fall off the wheels. So it'll just come down if we can win the division or not with the Vikings in the back, pretty much back to back.
That's crazy having the Vikings be the last 2 of the last 3 games. That's going to be a wild 3 weeks.
I hadn't seen that yet.
I feel like those 3 games are going to definitely have I think the Lions will win the division personally, but if they don't, it's going to come down to those last 3 games. And I think it's going to be some of the most electric pieces of the last 3 weeks of football. Normally you don't see sorry, Jordan, to jump in, but normally you don't see that many division games down the stretch, and they're playing like the contending team in their division in 2 of the last 3 weeks. I'm seeing this for the first time. That is nuts, and it's going to be so fun to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be intense.
And Detroit's selling out, my bad, Jay, but Detroit's selling out home field for the first time ever. That place is going to rock the world off for those 2 games. And when we go to Minnesota for the Division 2,
it's going to be like a
Minnesota's crazy too. So,
yeah, I was going to say, looking at the schedule too, you predicted them possibly being 10-7, 9-8. And I think that last 3 weeks is going to be crazy because, I feel like every playoff team, even the Giants, and I'll talk about it, they somehow always lose a crucial game at the end. And the Lions, granted that they're going to have to play super hard week 16 and they're going to have to play the Vikings in week 18. Are they going to just take their foot off the gas against the Cowboys and lose one there? So it's crucial for them to kind of finish off strong. And I feel because I think the Giants schedule, they face the Eagles twice as well towards the end of the season. So it's tough. I'm hoping for the Lions to have a good season. They have a lot of great pieces. And I feel like we haven't even mentioned the Sun God. He's due to have a crazy good year this year too.
No, absolutely.
That's crazy they don't play the Eagles.
No, it's just
this year.
Detroit's never had a football team that has the best offensive line in football and dangerous weapons on the defensive line. That's how you win football games.
The Lions will have a great year. They could really use a weapon like TJ Hawkinson in the Lions.
We got a better – Sam Laporta's going to be sweet, dude.
Not the
Everybody keeps hating on it, dude. That dude loves football. He's going to be sweet.
And not only did they get rid of TJ Hawkinson, but they traded him to the Vikings. So I don't know how you make that even better.
Literally mid-season.
He will drop the ball in a big game. I promise you that.
And he has.
Johnny, Jay, Gabby, any thoughts on the possible 10-7 lines? Do you think they are better than that? They're worse? What's your guys' take?
I just love Jahmyr Gibbs. I actually think he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. He's going to catch everything that's thrown to him. That line is sick. I don't see a way he doesn't win it.
And people were pissed when the Lions drafted him.
Oh, they were so mad, and I was like, why?
Yeah.
He's really, really nice.
Yeah, he's a dog. He's going to be good. I obviously have hometown allegiance to the Lions, so I'm excited for them. I think they're going to be awesome this year, and I'm really sad that we don't live there anymore to go to the games. But yeah, I'm excited. I think Dan Campbell knows what he's doing. I think Ben Johnson is one of the best offensive coordinators. So
I do want to ask Jordan one more thing before we go on to Shawnee's Jags. Who's going to be the 1-yard touchdown merchant for the Lions this season? Since there's no Jamal Williams.
I think it'll come down to whether Jameis is making big plays, our Alabama guy, because that's he's talking about Jahmyr too. We keep drafting the best Alabama players, and it looks a lot better. But to answer the question on that, I think the guy from Chicago, Sweet, he's banged a lot of touchdowns in on the Lions for years. And he's been he's been behind the worst offensive line in football for a while and rushed for 900 yards.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And what better way to segue someone that's going to rush for 900 plus yards and Travis Etienne for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Johnny, I know you've been itching to talk about how great the Jags are going to be this season. So tell us why the Jags are going to be great or they're going to be hot garbage. Take it away.
They're not going to be hot garbage. I think the Jags are probably going to be one of the best offensive teams in the league this year. I was so surprised when the Jags did as poor as they did when Trevor Lawrence was a rookie. I could not believe it. I watched him in college over COVID. I'm not a big college football guy, but I was like, this guy is good. And then he went to the Jags and they sucked. And I didn't get it. I told you guys the Jags were going to be elite. I was kind of doing it for the bit, but like they were, I really thought that like there's a lot for Trevor Lawrence there. Like I didn't throw money on it for the bit. Like I threw money on it because I think Trevor Lawrence is really good. And now I think they have the craziest weapons compared to what they had last year. I just think the Jags are going to explode. Like who was Trevor Lawrence's best wide receiver last year?
Christian Kirk.
And who is their best? Who is their best this year?
Can you not name it?
Calvin Ridley.
Oh no, I know the answer.
Yeah.
So I think Calvin Ridley going to come back and be disgusting. I think he's going to be disgusting. He was top 15 when he was getting thrown to by Matt Ryan, and now he has a guy that has the ability to throw bombs to him, and I think he's going to connect. With that being said, let's go through the schedule. The Week 1 Colts is not even a question in my mind. The Colts are a disaster right now. The Jags are winning that game, and they might come out of the gate putting up 40 points against the Colts. I think the Jags are going to make a statement. I think last year they won that playoff game against the Chargers. That has to be the highlight of so many of their careers. They obviously weren't going to go much farther than that. I didn't even think they were going to go past that. But they are going to be here to make a statement. I think the Jags are going to be a top 2 seed, and I think it's going to show with how I think they're going to do. I was for the bit going to say they're going to go 17-0, but I'm not going to do that. They got the Colts handedly. I do not think they'll beat the Chiefs Week 2. I think the Chiefs coming out of the gate, Pat Mahomes has some very strong games at the beginning of the year. I feel like I just think it's not going to be – I think it's going to probably shake them a little bit. I know it's their first game home, but I don't really think it matters. They're going to crush the Texans. They're going to crush the Falcons. Don't even get me started on the Buffalo Bills. I'm not even saying that for the bit. I think that the Jags had the ability last year to stop some pretty good receivers when they were playing against them. And there's only one good receiver on the Bills. And I feel like they're not going to have as good of an offensive game against the Jags as people think they're going to. And I think the Jags are going to win that game against the Bills. Then they're going to beat the Colts again. Not even a question. They're going to beat the Saints, I believe. I also think Alvin Kamara should be back at this point. But I don't know. I don't see it. I never see it with the Saints defense. I think if the Jags' biggest weapon is that they're just going to put up these crazy points. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have his best year this year. I think obviously it's his third year. And his first year was not that good. But with the weapons that they have, who are the Saints stopping to stop the Jags from scoring as many points as they're going to score to win that game? They're going to beat the Steelers. The Steelers are a hot pot of garbage. I do think they're going to lose to the 49ers. I think the 49ers have one of the defenses that can definitely come up with a scheme to stop the Jags. I think defenses are going to be the thing that stops the Jags from winning a few games this year. And I do believe that the 49ers is going to be one of them. When they play the Titans, I believe that game is going to be a toss-up. I think both teams have this like weird ability to just put up like a lot of points. I know the Titans aren't going to be as good this year, but I do get nervous about the Titans. They feel like such a wild card team. I'm going to hand the Jags a wild card loss here against the Tennessee Titans. They'll kill the Texans again. Then the Bengals. The Bengals are so tricky, guys. Because I think the Bengals might be the best team in football this year. And I say that because I think Joe Burrow is getting better and better. I think they have the same core of guys that have been with them for a long time. Bengals got a decent defense. I think they're going to lose to the Bengals. They're going to beat the Browns. I think they're going to lose to the Ravens. I think Lamar is going to heat up towards that end point of the season. I think Lamar is really, really dirty in a good way. And I think he's going to run all over the Jags, and I think he's going to surprise them in a few ways. I think the Ravens are going to be at a point of their season where they're going to need to win a game. And while the Jags obviously will be too, I do think that's going to be a loss for them. And then I think they're going to win out. I think they got the Bucs. I think they got the Panthers. And then when they're playing in Tennessee week 18, Tennessee's not going to be in the conversation. The Jacksonville Jaguars will be, and they're going to want to be fucking hot going into the playoffs because they're the best team in football. So I think that's where I stand. A lot of those takes are a lot more of like gut feeling versus legitimate, like, you know, because I think the Jags are probably going to lose 3 or 4 games max. And that's where I stand. I think they're going to have a much better year than last year. And I do think some of those losses are going to be miscellaneous losses. I do think their schedule is not as strong as a lot of other teams in the NFL as well, which is kind of why I'm higher on them. But I think it's going to be an interesting season for the Jags. And I do believe a lot of my upside comes from them getting these extra weapons back that are just going to be crazy, crazy good.
And what I will say, just for the record, you did predict them 12-5. So that's what we had them at. But I agree. Honestly, I think looking at the Jacksonville schedule, them being in the worst division in football, they can really easily just go 6-0 in their division. Honestly, like, obviously football is not like that black and white, but realistically, the only 4 teams I feel like that will give them trouble is the Ravens, is the Bills, is the Niners, and the Bengals. And I do think the Saints and the Steelers can give them a run for their money as well. Like, the Steelers somehow are always sneaky good with Mike Tomlin, obviously, as their head coach. And then I think the Saints might surprise people. I think Derek Carr might be pretty decent this year, especially their division is pretty ass too with the Bucs, Panthers, them, and whatever team I'm forgetting as well. But I'm really high on the Jags too. I think 13-4 might be a good prediction with you, Johnny. The AFC stacked. Mark said it earlier, like they are genuinely stacked. But yeah, I'm pretty high.
I think it's just insane that they had the worst odds. Like I said at the beginning, the only reason I'm so high on them is because they had the worst odds going into last season. They had Trevor Lawrence as their quarterback, who was the best college quarterback at the time. And I was like, this guy's not going to be that bad 2 years in a row. And he wasn't. And I think now people are looking at them as serious contenders. And not only that, but I think people want to go to the Jags. Like, I think that a lot of the people that are on the Jags right now are really passionate. They want to have a rebound year. Like that. When is the last time the Jags have ever been this good? I think there was 1 year, like 2000.
The AFC Championship.
Blake Bortles.
Yeah,
they did like one time, like recently, right? And it was in like the last like 6 or 7 years that it happened. But besides that, I don't think they have many good years. I'm also a very brand new Jacksonville Jaguars fan. If Jay wasn't here, I'd probably be doing the New York Jets. I'm talking like I know a lot about the Jags, but I'm really just the biggest fake fan out there. But I'm a massive, massive Jacksonville Jaguars fanboy. I've already thrown every penny in my bank account on them winning the Super Bowl, and I expect it to pull through.
The interesting thing about the Bills game is it's week 5. Von Miller is on PUP, which means he's out for 4 games. So Von Miller for that Jacksonville game. And also, I do agree with Rizzo. I think Pittsburgh's way better than a hot pile of trash or whatever he said. I think Pickens and Pickett are going to be fire. I think they drafted that Georgia tight end who's a fucking monster. And their defense is always good with Tomlin. So I think the Steelers are probably like a decent team this year.
And I do just want to make one quick comment. I think we're kind of underestimating that Calvin Ridley has probably bet on the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl. So why would he not have them win the Super Bowl? So that's one thing to note.
The last thing, I don't think he's been mentioned yet, but also to the Jaguars' weapons, Evan Ingram was fucking awesome last year, bro. And he re-signed, and I think it's a massive, massive piece because, like, he's a dynamic tight end.
Giants legend. But before we close it off with the Giants, Jay, Gabby, Jordan, any thoughts on the Jaguars and Johnny's putting his entire life savings on them?
I have no comment. Jordan?
Johnny, what happens if they do that and they get the Chiefs at home on one of those like 4:00 Saturday games? What happens?
They play the Chiefs.
Yeah, because they get the home game. The Chiefs have to play on the road, which they never have to do.
Jags are winning. No, I don't think so. I think the AFC is going to come down to the Bengals, the Jags, and the Chiefs. That's kind of where I sit. I do think the Jags are probably going to end up being the 2 or the 3 seed. I don't know which one it's going to be. They're obviously going to win their division. It's not even a question. I do think whoever pulls out of the AFC East might get the 4 seed just because of how competitive that division is this year. And the Jags just have no competition within their division. That's like the biggest reason why I'm so high. I think they'll obviously make the playoffs. The question is their seeding, and then the question is who they're going to play, in those first few rounds of the playoffs. I think if they could avoid the Chiefs until the AFC Championship, or they could avoid the Bengals until the AFC Championship, they could potentially be there. But I do think if they end up playing the Chiefs or the Bengals in one of those playoff games, like the Chiefs and the Bengals have so much experience in those playoff games that they will probably put some work in on the Jags. But I think they're coming in as like a new team this year. I think it's a team that I can't really identify because it hasn't really, played out yet. But I'm a massive Jacksonville Jaguars fanboy, and that's kind of where I sit.
I will end this off. I will say, take your paycheck, go on FanDuel right now, go put it on Trevor Lawrence MVP. It is plus 1,600 right now. I'm telling you, this is the year that he's gonna make. I think he makes that leap. He's ready for it. They have such an easy schedule. They'll win at least 14 or 15 games. They're ready for it.
They gotta have.
They'll at least be in the conversation.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think about how Mickey Mouse their schedule was. Jay, you convinced me. I'm throwing 100 on T-Law for MVP. So, I'll come back to this podcast in 21 weeks.
I might have to do it just because now. Fuck.
Squad ride.
Squad ride.
Have to.
I'm about
to re-download the apps, and the group chat's about to be explosive.
Hey, but his coach did coach an MVP too, and he is dog water, and he won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback too. So the Jags could be so sneaky because Trevor can play in big games. Their coaches coach big games. They might not just be Jacksonville.
And they're kind of like on their high, like after the whole Chargers like collapsed in the playoffs. So.
And to help you, Jacksonville is probably the best expansion team. If you needed to know, they have Fred Taylor, Jimmy Smith days. Jacksonville used to be sweet.
Also they didn't play that bad against the Chiefs either. So.
People keep making comments about the Heat too, and it's going to be just as hot in Jacksonville.
Hot as hell.
Yeah, I feel like people are gonna choke when they got to go to Jacksonville mid-season.
I got to drive down there for tonight because we're working the hurricane.
Damn.
Well, honestly, tomorrow morning we leave.
You go put in that Jacksonville luck. Go stop by the training camp and let T-Law know that we're putting money on him. So.
I guess it's automatic for the T-Law money now. I feel like
I'm like genuinely convinced now.
No, I feel like we're frauds if we don't do it. We said
we'll come back to this fucking.
I'm fraudulent as fuck, by the way. Just so we're.
Do we do the where you can make crazy monies? Do we do bet Chiefs Jacksonville play in a game like a playoff game and Jacksonville wins? Because you can win you can get plus 22,000 for those and stuff, dude. We could go. We go to Cancun.
Tips away on the podcast.
We go to Cancun.
No, I mean, listen, this isn't gambling advice; it's financial advice with us. So,
Jordan's strictly a financial advisor, and that's all it comes down to.
We take the RizPod to Cancun.
That would be amazing, and I'm down for that.
I'd be down.
No, my best friend did it last year, and it was so close.
No, listen, he's giving us financial advice. I'm trying to get rich too. That might actually be the wave. But speaking of the wave, I'm talking about the wave of my Giants. And kind of very similar to Johnny, I feel like I'm a pretty bad Giants fan when we come down to it because, my favorite player growing up was Drew Brees. My favorite player in the NFL now is Joe Burrow. So, who gives a rat's ass? The Giants were actually good last year, surprisingly. The only thing that sucked is they started off, 6-0, and then we kind of tragically lost. Unlike the Jaguars, when they're in a terrible division, the Giants are kind of fucked. So I'll kind of make this quick because I already kind of know where I'm going with this. I have high hopes for them, but I don't think we're going to be pretty good. First game at home against the Dallas Cowboys. We're losing. It's just the Giants' way. Brian Daboll, great coach. Love Brian Daboll. He's the fucking man. Saquon, a little drama with him. Jalen Hyatt, I think, is going to be the offensive rookie of the year. That's my pick. Fuck Bijan Robinson. But I think they lose. I think they need a wake-up call. They lose week 1. Week 2, very similar to what everybody said against dog shit teams. The Cardinals suck. Kyler Murray sucks. They're going to slaughter them. 1-1. Against the Niners, I want to say they're going to win, just to be sneaky, but I really don't see them winning on the road against whoever their quarterback is going to be. So they're going to go down 1-2. Against Seattle at home, Geno Smith coming back to MetLife. Everybody's going to boo him. I don't think Geno's going to recreate what he did last season. I think the Giants win. And I do want to make a quick statement. I think a lot of people sleep on Daniel Jones. He is a top 10 quarterback in this league. I stand by that. Maybe not like 6 or 7, but he's definitely 8, 9, 10 in that conversation.
Maybe
On the
10
road,
out of 10.
yeah, on the road against Miami. Listen, the Giants, if they got to be good this year, they got to steal big games against good teams, and I think the Dolphins will be one of them. I think Tua is going to be tested. Listen, maybe Tua might get another concussion, and Skylar Thompson is going to be the quarterback. You never know these days. So would I have them at 3-2 against the Bills on the road? Listen, it's the Battle of New York. Why would the Giants not beat the Buffalo Bills? Sadly, they won't. So they're going to lose. So I have them at 3-3 here. Now against the Commanders. The Commanders are a team that I don't really know what to make out of them. I honestly predicted they're going to probably win 4 games this season because I don't think they're going to be any good at all. But knowing my Giants, very similar to Jay and Johnny said about the Jets, they always somehow lose close games. And the Commanders always usually have one. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. At home, we're going to win. So we're, I think, 1, 2, 3. I think we're 3-3 right now. What was that? 3? No, we're 4-3. Against the Jets, we're beating the Jets. Listen, I'm telling you right now, Giants is going to beat the Jets at MetLife. I think there's a lot more Jets fans like around the area than Giant fans, but Brian Daboll over Robert Saleh. I think Robert Saleh really doesn't have the coaching like guru compared to a Brian Daboll. I mean, Brian Daboll came from the Bills organization. I think he's, if not the best coach in football, a top 3 coach in football. So I have them winning there against the Raiders, pack them up. Against the Cowboys, I do think we split. So I'm going to give them a win here since I gave them a loss at home. The Commanders, I got to keep it rolling. I have them with a win. The Patriots with Mac Jones, Bill Belichick, he always wants his vengeance against us because we somehow always beat them in the big game. At home, at MetLife, Giants win. So I have them at 1, 2, 3,
9-3.
4, 9. God damn. See, this is bad. This is why you're not a fan of football, because you just keep on telling all your teams is going to win. Fine. At home against Green Bay, we're going to lose one. We got to blow a game. Jordan Love has a legacy game. Aaron Jones just rushes for 3 touchdowns, and we somehow lose, and everybody realizes that the collapse is nearing. Against the Saints, listen, we're beating the Saints. Derek Carr, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave. Even though I really think the Saints are actually going to be kind of decent this year, I don't really think they're going to beat us. So what? We're 10-4. And this is what I was talking about with the Vikings, looking at the Eagles schedule. The fact that we're in an NFC or like in a division race with probably one of the best teams in football kind of sucks. I actually think we lose 3 straight. I think the Rams might have a bounce back season. I don't know, but the Giants always lose some close games. So finish the season in a 3-game losing streak. So that puts us, I believe,
10-7.
10-7, which is what we were last year. I think the good thing about the Giants is they know their identity. They know that Daniel Jones is a dual threat. Saquon's going to have a big year. Now that Jones probably has a lot more receivers than he's ever had in his career. I mean, we don't know what Hyatt's going to be, but he's pretty good. Isaiah Hodgins is pretty good. Darius Slayton. Like, I think we got, and now we got Darren Waller. I haven't even mentioned Darren Waller. He's going to be a PPR machine this year. I don't know. I think 10-7 is respectable. And I do think the Giants make the playoffs, which is why I have them at 10-7. They're not winning the division with the Eagles in there. And the Cowboys are probably still going to be sneaky decent. So, yeah, I have them at 10-7.
I think I'm a little higher than you. The NFC East never has back-to-back division winners ever. 1. So, and then 2, Daboll came from Buffalo, but by way of Alabama, by way of New England under Bill Belichick. Like, he's no joke. Like, he knows his stuff. I don't think he's going into a division race and getting swept. I definitely don't think he's losing 3 straight to close the season. I think they probably are an 11 or 12 win team. And I think if anybody's going to win the division other than the Eagles, it's probably the Giants.
I agree with Mark. I think the Giants are actually going to be decent this year. They could win 11 or 12 games. The offense definitely got better. You finally got some decent weapons around Daniel Jones. But the biggest thing is Saquon is angry. He wants to get paid. He is going to have probably one of his best seasons ever and show that he should be the highest paid running back in the league. So just because of that, the Giants are going to win some games.
And I agree with that sentiment. Johnny?
Yeah, I always see a lot of my friends are Giants fans, so all I hear about is the Giants. So they nauseate me at this point. But like I agree with the Saquon thing. Saquon is angry. I do also agree that Daniel Jones is a top 10 quarterback. I was joking about the 10-10 or 10 comment. I do believe that he's probably like 7, 8, 9. I don't think he's too shabby. I think he's got a little bit more to work with this year. I think Darren Waller is going to be nasty. Darren Waller's been getting thrown to by Derek Carr, and who was he getting thrown to last year? Like, I don't even remember the name of the guy that was the starter for the Raiders. So it's just like
Joe Mama.
Yeah, like it could have been Joe Mama and it would have had the same impact. Like it's not really. So like I just think there's a lot more upside for the individuals on the Giants. I do believe that the Giants coaching is unlike a lot of things in the NFL. I think they could come up with some schemes with even like some of the worst teams that the Giants have had. They still like do pretty decent. I even think they'll go better than 10-7. I'm going to be hearing it all season. But I don't know if they'll win the division. The back-to-back thing, sure, that's just like, what do you call it? Like a myth or a legend or whatever you want to call it. I think the Eagles are absolutely going to win the NFC East. I don't think that it's even going to be close. I do think the Giants will probably snag the 6 or 7 seed, but then when you look at who they're probably going to end up playing in the playoffs, I don't really think they're going to make it past the first round. A lot can happen though. I think there's a lot more upside. Like some people I'd call them like a fringe NFL 1, like when you look at fantasy and it's like wide receiver 1. Like I think like they could be that good, but I also think like a lot needs to go in the right way for them to actually make the playoffs and actually have a chance to storm to the Super Bowl. And I don't think they're out of the question, but I definitely think there's a lot that needs to happen in order for that to look possible, compared to all of the teams that we've talked about tonight. Yeah.
Fair and Gabby, Jordan, wrap it up.
I think Jalen Hyatt is going to be absolutely insane this year. I wanted the Chargers to draft him so bad. So I'm excited that he went to one of our teams. But I think that he is going to absolutely change the way that Daniel Jones maybe looks. I think if he's able to catch some deep, throws and just play well, I think it will kind of like put more of the spotlight on Daniel Jones. And I don't know if you guys remember, I was very high on him last year because I thought the last half of the season he played like a star. So I'm very excited for that. And we talk about all the time about kind of like the coaching tree like in the NFL and like how these coaches that are starting to like be actual like NFL coaches like coached under some of like bigger coaches. So I think it's really fun to like see that like start to like flourish and like their teams to like progress from what they learned from the coaches that they coached under for so long. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the Giants. I don't really know what their record's going to be. I'm sure they'll probably make the playoffs again, but we'll see. But Jalen Hyatt for life.
Oh yeah.
And Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, how many teams does the playoffs start week 15 for? That was my first point after seeing your schedule too. It's like you're playing, those are playoff games. Like those are going to be sellout. Like they might flex those games, like the Detroit ones too. Then playing Philly like that, that's going to be a huge. That's a game you tune into because those are blue bloods. So you don't have the problem a lot of us have either, where it's like you're not supposed to win, like they do. But yeah, Hyatt's sweet. If he can take the top off, then your boy can really rush for like 2,000. And then my main point was, who cares if Daniel Jones is top 10 or not? Like, you don't need a top 10 to go to the NFC Championship. Jalen Hurts is sweet, but the rest of that team carried him. Same thing with the 49ers. Like
CMC playing QB.
If they had Daniel Jones, they were in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to. That's why I'm so high on the Lions too, because like Jared Goff, like same thing. It's like Daniel Jones and him are like the same guy.
Except Daniel Jones,
he's got wheels. He's got wheels. That's the only difference.
The repeating NFC East division winner thing, I looked it up. There hasn't been a repeat winner since 03-04 in the division.
Wow.
And the
Giants year.
I could see it.
I still think the Eagles have it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
the Eagles are loaded, and they got even more guys this year with DeAndre Swift and all these other guys. So we'll see if they're any good. They probably are. But I agree. The NFC, it's anybody's game. Like, what did Brock Purdy go with the Niners? Like 9-0. So anybody can win. So kind of just wrapping it all off. Obviously, we went through all the scheduled picks. We're just going to rapid fire everybody's offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, and Super Bowl picks. Jay, you started us off with JETS. Jets. Start us off with your 3 picks. What's your gut feeling? This doesn't have to be financial advice or gambling advice. It's just your advice and your picks. So take it away.
Okay, on the top of the dome, I'm going to say, I hate I'm saying this, Garrett Wilson, because I'm hoping the Jets play well this year, please. And then defensive player of the year, you got to give it to Michael Parsons. It's probably his year to go win it after all this time. And then with the Super Bowl pick, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm being serious. I actually think they're really good this year. They have everything they need to win. Jerry's bringing it home.
And cut. No, I'm just joking. All right. Well, that was pretty bold, Johnny. I would love to hear yours.
So what's absolutely nuts is the names that I wrote down for offensive and defensive player of the year are the same 2 people that Jay just said. I'm definitely going to stick with Micah Parsons. Couldn't agree more. One of the most talented defensive players in the NFL. I do believe that if the Cowboys are the Super Bowl contending team, which I think they kind of always are, but they'll never get there ever for the bit, but also for reality, Micah Parsons will help them get there. Offensive player of the year, I'm going to put it down on the line. I put my bank account on it. It's Trevor Lawrence, and it's happening. I think this is his year. I think he's going to bomb it. I think he might even break some records. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm talking a big game, but I think they're going to get it. But they're not going to win the Super Bowl because I think it's finally, I think it's time for the Cincinnati Bengals to pull out the chip. I think that they're running with the same core. They're always in the conversation. I think the Chiefs are getting a little weaker. I don't think they're going to be as big of a barrier in their way. The Bengals have been to a Super Bowl recently. And I just think it's their year. Absolutely. I have no doubt in my mind that that is the team that I would label my front runner. Are they the stats front runner? Not really sure. Haven't had a gambling app in like 5 months, so I really don't know what it looks like. But I think the Bengals absolutely have it nailed. And that's my pick.
I just want to say, I looked it up. There is no Trevor Lawrence odds for Offensive Player of the Year.
The books just don't know.
The books don't know what I know. Do you know what I did last year? Moving on. Go to Mark.
Quarterback for MVP, not those awards. That's MVP only.
You think so?
Yeah.
So Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley's your pick. Fuck
no.
I'm looking on FanDuel right now.
Have you ever heard of the name Brian Edwards? I'm joking.
Stop.
I'll throw a nickel on it.
Stop.
Did he go to jail? Am I thinking of
Stop. I don't even think that's true.
Trevor Lawrence is plus 5,000.
Basketball players.
Plus 5,000 for what?
Offensive Player of the Year, Trevor Lawrence plus 5,000.
Wow.
Yeah, because if he plays that good, he's going to be MVP.
Yeah. That's fair.
Mark, take it away.
I had Garrett Wilson at first. Jay just stole it.
He said, Mark, take it away. God, let me take it away. So, plus 4,000 Offensive Player of the Year. I just decided after our conversation, I'm going with Saquon Barkley for Offensive Player of the Year. And then Defensive Player of the Year. Micah's a good shout. I think the Steelers are good. I think TJ Watt's an absolute fucking dog. I think McAfee just gave him like $500K to charity if he breaks the sack record today, which he's already done once. So I think TJ Watt at plus 800 is great value.
Yeah.
Super Bowl. Oh, so I'm going. I think Kirko finally gets to one. I'm a big Kirk fan. And then the reason I need the Vikings to get to the Super Bowl is because the Bills are going to fucking smack the shit out of them. And Buffalo's going to the Super Bowl. And we're winning the fucking Stanley Cup. I don't give a fuck. It's the Buffalo year, baby.
It's the Stanley Cup, baby.
Wait, what?
You said Stanley Cup.
Well, yeah, because he's saying the Sabres are going to win.
No. Oh.
The Bills and Sabres. Yeah. It's just Buffalo's year, period.
I don't. Mark, wake up, King. Anyways, but no, fair enough. Gabby and Jordan, you guys can take it away, and then I'll finish it off.
You go or me?
You can go.
Okay. Both of mine are very hot takes, but that's okay because that's what this is for. My defensive player of the year is going to be Aiden Hutchinson. Because I think he was I wouldn't say close in the race last year, but he should have been. And he has a lot to prove. It's his third year, second year, third? I don't know. Second, yeah. So I think he's going to be an absolute animal this year. And he's like 3 times the size he was last year. I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of him recently, but he is fucking yoked. And then my offensive player of the year is going to be Austin Eckler. No, I'm just kidding. I don't honestly really know. I feel like there's a lot of people that could like have a good case for it. I guess I'll say, just to be different, I'll say Travis Kelce, just because I mean he's always on fire offensively, and it would be kind of fun. And he's like so like popular in the media now, just because of like everything with his brother and stuff. And then, Mark, don't hate me. I think since he's winning the Super Bowl this year, I think it's Joe Burrow's year. I think that I was like, what's he saying? I think that the last couple of years he's shown everybody that he kind of has what it takes. I think, and this is another like very strong opinion, I think that if the Lions didn't trade Stafford to the Rams the year that the Rams made the Super Bowl, that they wouldn't have won, because I knew it was going to be like this big ordeal about how he got out of Detroit and he won the Super Bowl the first year, which whatever. But I think the Bengals should have won that one. So yeah, I think that he's going to win the Super Bowl this year, or they, I should say, not he.
That's a good one because offensive, I was going to go Chase because I feel like Joe Burrow is going to be in some tighter games because I think they lose Jesse Bates in the back end. So they're going to be in some shootouts. So I think Chase can put up some like 200-yard games. And then on defense, it's kind of funny. I stayed in the division, but Fitzpatrick for the Steelers in the back end. Last year, he had a bunch of touchdowns, like some 90-yard picks and like fumble recoveries. He's just always making crazy plays. And then in the Super Bowl, sheesh.
Just say the Lions.
I mean, if a certain team, if a team can sneak through the NFC, I'm just saying. But, yeah, I think Cincinnati can finally do it. Either Burrow's going to get an MVP or a dub in the Super Bowl this year because they need to keep this because Josh Allen's kind of fallen, you know. So we need someone to start racing Mahomes before he wins 5 Super Bowls and nobody watches football. They got to have drama.
Gotta have the drama. How old is Josh Allen? 28?
27, I think.
Oh, 27. Okay, and Joe's what, 24?
Maybe like 25. I don't know. Joe's
Okay.
not that young.
This is fourth or fifth season, right?
Yeah, I think
He was drafted in 2020.
Yes, this is 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, I'm actually kind of upset because I really thought I had like some really like fire picks, and then like you all kind of said what I was going to do. My offensive player of the year, I actually think it's going to be Garrett Wilson. I think Aaron Rodgers has shown in the past that if he finds a receiver that's talented, he will literally force feed them the ball and they're going to have amazing seasons. And I think Garrett Wilson is young on a team that a lot of people are going to watch. The Jets have a lot of primetime games, so a lot of the media are going to be tuned in. So Garrett Wilson's my pick. My pick for Depoy was something that Mark said. It's TJ Watt. I saw that Pat McAfee thing this morning and I was like, wow, like sports can sometimes feel rigged, and what better way to have something feel rigged than donating to charity to break the sack record. So TJ Watt was my pick. And the Super Bowl, I came down to whether or not I wanted to be realistic and have some bias, but at the end of the day, we've all said it. It's coming to the Burrow boy back in Cincy. I've got his jersey when he lost. And a fun story, I was so sad that Joe Burrow lost that Super Bowl. But if you guys remember, I was so happy because I sent Johnny money to predict the correct score in Jersey of 23-20. And then when Cooper Kupp scored that touchdown and they missed that kick for the Super Bowl and 23-20, I turned $5 to $5.05. So that was a good Super Bowl. But those are my picks. And that's kind of all of our picks with all of our predictions. All of our teams are somehow going to go 11-6, 10-7, or all
Remember the 6-way Super Bowl winner.
No bias intended at all. This was great. This was the first ever RizPod's Megapod, and I think it was a success. I'm going to coin it in the next merch drop, but I'll kind of let everybody say their final goodbyes, their final takes, and then we'll close this out. So, Jay, take it off and start it off.
I don't know. I just can't wait for
I'm asking you
football
to take
and
off,
college
but
football.
whatever.
It's gonna be a great year. It's gonna be a great fall. Can't wait to see it all.
Johnny?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really strong NFL season. I was going to pose another question, but we have been here for quite some time. I was going to say that the chance of all 6 of our teams making the playoffs, I'm going to give it 72%. I actually think that all 6 of our teams are very, very good. I think the one that's the most risky is probably the Giants. But I do believe that all 6 of our teams have a really good chance of making it. I think that makes this a lot of fun. And I almost hope we come back like at the very end of the season and we look back at some of our predictions and we write down what we thought was going to happen and where we went wrong. I'm sure one of us will be so terribly wrong and our teams won't even have a winning record, but we don't know because it hasn't happened yet. I think it's going to be a kick-ass NFL season. Thanks, RizPod, Mega God, for having us. Great time. Go Jags, baby.
Go Jags. Mark?
That is so funny.
Yeah, I'm excited to gamble again. I think we've all taken the summer off for the most part, so excited.
I did not.
Fair. Yeah, no, I'm super excited to come back and look at how wrong I was. But go Bills nonetheless.
And then Gabby, Jordan?
Well, I really hope that the Chargers don't blow another insane lead this year. So that's that. But I love you guys very much, and this is always so much fun. So I just want to say that.
No, it was definitely a lot of fun. And then if we do it again, you gotta cut it and then like throw it back up the takes, especially for Johnny. And then we can. I think that'd be great. But if we all bet on T-Law, then we may have to.
I say we just parlay our 6 teams to make the playoffs.
I agree.
We're going to Cancun.
Yeah.
That's actually the smartest thing we could do.
Parlay our
just do
6
that.
teams to make the playoffs. Let's get it.
Yeah.
I agree.
like
We throw 50
And then go
bucks
on a trip.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we're going to Vegas. Perfect.
Yep. And then I'll put it on black.
Well, black. It's perfect.
RizPod from the MGM, baby.
Yeah. Hey, we just parlay all over 9 wins. I think the Lions will give you the juice.
Yep. Giants too.
Oh, goodness.
Well, guys, it was a pleasure having you guys on. We're gonna come back to this in 21 weeks when all of 6 of our teams make the playoffs. T-Law wins MVP. All of our picks actually somehow cash, and we're all fucking rich. But with that being said, it's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, RizGod, Riz God, baby. Signing off on the 18th episode of the RizPod with everybody. See you guys.